What's your fuck this, I quit story? Was at a job for 3 years, consistently in the top 3 of my department in terms of performance. Asked my supervisor repeatedly if I could be recommended for advancement/promotion, and he always told me he was trying his best to get me new opportunities. Found out from a friend in a different department that I'd been considered a top candidate for 4 different promotions, and each time my supervisor had blocked it. When I confronted him with this information, he told me it was true and he did it because I could never find someone who does what you do without paying them a lot more. Internally said, fuck this, I quit and found a new job within 3 months. Took all of my PTO, and on the day I came back I quit 2 hours into the day, leaving him high and dry at a peak time. Fuck that dude. I worked for a company for over a year that was contracted to make deliveries for Amazon. The vans they equipped us with were terribly maintained and fully unequipped to handle winter weather. I worked with the company through their first winter, which meant sliding all over the road when it was icy and getting stuck constantly every time we had snow. I never had a major incident, though I did have 2 or 3 close calls where only minor damage was incurred to the van. I decided to stick it out through the summer when the weather was obviously much better. All summer long they promised us that new and better vans were coming. September rolls around, no vans. October, no vans. November, no vans. That month we got our first real snow. I got back from my route and immediately put it in my notice. My boss told me they would be getting new vans by the end of the year. I was in the same position for 2 years and was actively looking at other positions within the same company. Bosses knew about it. It was just time for a change and to advance my career. Great opportunity came up and I was offered the position. However, my current leadership blocked me because I received a promotion 6 months prior. That promotion was literally an automatic email that said congrats, you're now level 2 instead of level 1 because I had met my sales attainment and completed all my yearly trainings. Literally an automated email stopped me from getting promoted and bosses said I had to wait another 18 months. Left that company and went to a competitor doing the same thing for better pay and significantly more support. Was working at a restaurant in Emboro, Tennessee. Found a better job that actually gave me hours and went in to put in my 2-week notice. Was more like a week, a few days due to timing of the new gig, in out of courtesy. I got a lecture about how I could never come back to the company since it wasn't a full 2 weeks. I then suggested politely that that's great, let's say today is my last day then. Was such a relief. I was 20 and had been working in a call center for just over a year. I was promoted to an assistant manager with a new compensation structure that was identical to the other assistant manager. Basically, you got your wage, a very small percentage of the total office revenue, and then 10% of your own revenue from when you worked on the phone. My immediate manager and office supervisor gave me this without confirming it with the regional manager, who was on a 2-month vacation in the DR. When I got my first check after being promoted, there was no bonus. I was told it would be corrected soon. When I got my second check after being promoted, there was no bonus. I was told it would be corrected soon. When I got my third check after being promoted, there was no bonus and I was told we had to wait for the regional manager to come back and authorize it. I was being paid weekly and work another 4 weeks under the premise that I would get a lump sum when the regional manager returned. The problem was that I sold significantly more than the other office manager. The back pay had grown to such a large amount that when the regional manager did return, he questioned why the office manager had given me this structure as he considered it to be too much money. On my next check there was no lump sum, and I was told that they were figuring out a new structure. My following shift, I stayed home and got a frantic call from the office manager asking me why I wasn't at work. I told him I couldn't afford to go to work. He said, "Why can't you afford it?" "Because I have been getting ripped off for 2 months. Call me back when you have my money or don't call me at all." Never did get paid. Currently in the US military. Was back and forth about re-enlisting for another 4 years. Have done 9 to this point. I have a 3-year-old daughter at home who I haven't seen in almost 2 years, for more than 3 weeks. Was talking to an office in my chain of command when I told him my thoughts. I had just received orders to remain overseas for an additional 2 years. His exact words were, "You've already missed 2 years of her life, you can afford to lose 2 more." I went to my command career counselor office that day and signed my intention to separate. I was a new sous chef at a country club. Chef wouldn't let anyone but himself do the ordering. His ordering method was to go over a sheet of paper hanging on the line where people wrote down what we were out of. Not what we were nearly out of, but what we were completely out of. Anytime I tried to add items that were close to out of on, he'd lose his shit. We were constantly out of things. One day, we had a huge Easter breakfast event. Deep shit chef didn't order near enough eggs and we were out of all sorts of other random items. I was out front making omelets for members. Ran out of eggs and stood around for 15 minutes waiting for more while the other members became increasingly frustrated, then angry. Went to the back to see chef yucking it up with the FEO manager. Handed him my apron and told him to pound sand. Was at that job for less than 2 weeks. I interviewed for a corporate accounting role because public accounting was much less pay and a lot more hours. Was told in the interview that it was show up between 8-9, leave between 4-5. There be no more working late nights or having to work on weekends, which was great. I took the job and within 2 months realized that they were lying through their teeth. First off, there was absolutely no training on their processes. I was giving enough work for 3 people, with no direction on how to do it. My manager was so scatterbrained, he could never give me any help when I asked. No one talked for 8 hours a day, and it was just an unbelievably bad work culture. I'd get to work usually at 8:30 and leave at 4:30, while eating lunch at my desk. I came in one day and was told, "Since you're leaving so early, I can only hope you're working from home." Then the next week, we're told we have to come in for a full day Saturday, because we had New Year's Day off that Monday. My final straw was when I left at 2:30 one day for a doctor's appointment. When I came in the next day, my manager pulled me into a room and said that I didn't have enough accrued PTO to do that, and he was going to dock my pay in a salaried position. Went in the next day, told him it wasn't working out and put my 2 weeks in. On my last day, he told me I could leave at 11:30, so I did. When I got my final paycheck, he docked my pay for the remainder of the day. Luckily, the recruiter who got me the job followed up to ask what happened. And I was completely open and honest with her. Apparently, that manager has a very high turnover rate for the position I was in. And the recruiter told me that the CFO is looking into replacing him. Arrived at the bar to work my shift, only to discover that the owners had sacked my manager because there was, in their view, too much wastage. At the time he was recovering from major surgery on his arm. He had 3 young children and an 8 months pregnant wife. They thought they were losing money because not every drop of beer poured went into somebody's drink, which is just a fact of life in a bar. And not because their idle Torag, son-brother, father-son owner duo kept coming in with his mates and demanding we give them free drinks they didn't have to pay for. quit on the spot, went to the manager's son chistering a while later. A year or two after that was told the bailiffs had come to visit the bar and left with quite a lot of furniture. Couldn't have happened to bigger cunts.